Peace, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Breaking Barriers. First, I want to check before we get started. Yes, I'm a little bit tardy. I was setting up some clips and some things for y'all, so just want to make sure that you can hear me. Can y'all hear me? Just give me like a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear. I just want to make sure you can hear the audio. And also to let me know if you could hear the show intro. Were you able to hear the audio for the show intro? Just waiting to hear back from y'all in the chat so I know I can move forward. Hearing fine. Okay. And did y'all hear the videos? Did you hear the video? Yeah. Okay. Boom. All right. So welcome to Beyond Breaking Barriers. It's MLK Day, y'all. I had a different show planned. I wanted to talk about Coretta uh and that whole thing with Jonathan Majors, but maybe I'll do that another time. I want to say peace to everyone in the chat. So if you don't know, this is Beyond Breaking Barriers. This show is every Monday at 8 p.m. on Black Power Media, and we center women in hip hop. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to this is going to be a heavy show. If folks are not able in this moment to deal with a heavy topic, I think this is the show you should probably skip and take care of yourself because I'm going to be talking about some heavy stuff. And I want to let y'all know that ahead of time. I made a little disclaimer. And basically, I just want to emphasize here, let me put that back up. I just want to let y'all know I'm not a professional. You know what I mean? And it's going to be some triggering information. I'm going to be talking about domestic violence, intimate partner violence, and it is going to be heavy. And there is some content that has suicide in it. So just want to let y'all know that ahead of time. Let me play this one more time. Just to let y'all know it might be triggering. And if you need support, I put a couple of resources in the description of this episode. By no means is that like an exhaustive list at all. So I think what I want to do is, well, first of all, I want to tell y'all why I'm doing this show today. A very tragic something very tragic happened in our Detroit hip hop community over this past week. And it has shocked our community. It has really rocked our community. It's only been a week, but what I have seen from most of my fellow community members is that folks are, including myself, completely distraught and in shock and confused and sad and angry. And one reason I want to do this show is because I want to give a tribute to my friend. Another reason that I'm doing this show here and on my podcast tomorrow, well, to uplift her life and her greatness and her legacy, and also to hopefully give space to myself and my community members to talk about this. So it's really, really fresh. Like I said, it's only been a week. And most of my community members, including myself, are just confused. Like I said, people don't know how to talk about it. There's just been radio silence from our community. I've spoken with different people in our community, and people just don't know how to talk about it. Um, and so I don't know how to talk about it. I'm not an expert. I'm doing this show because I said, hey, I got these media platforms. I have access. I I can't not talk about it. Like, I will say it's an open case, so I'm not gonna go like, I mean, maybe I will go. I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna say it's an open case, and yeah. So, um, with that, I think the first thing I want to do is just go on ahead and let uh well, I have something that I want to read. I did write something that I wanted to lead with. Um and so I'm going to lead, you know, with that. If I stumble through this, y'all work with me. Um yeah. So, as I go through this, I just want to tell you about this process. So I want to do an acknowledgement, right? Because I want to, like I said, I want to talk about the collective pain and shock, um and that is in our community in this moment. um and I want to begin by expressing empathy all the way around, and understanding for the profound grief and trauma that's affecting our community. I want to center my sister and my comrade who was victimized, and I want to center her greatness and her beauty. And I also want to honor her struggle. Um, and I want to honor the struggle that exists around violence against Black women. I I had intended to talk about this in a broader context of like intimate partner violence and like the disproportionate impact on Black women. I do, like I said, have some more resources about intimate partner violence and domestic violence and support organizations and things like that. Um I want to emphasize the importance of seeking support. I want to encourage all the listeners to reach out for support if you're struggling with your own grief or know someone who is. Um, and I want to ask people, even myself, like, to seek some counseling. You know, there are people who are here to help us and who are trained and who care. Um, I want to open it up so that my community feels safe to have dialogue um, about all these difficult questions. There's so many questions um, about justice, accountability, preventing future tragedies, and I want to encourage a thoughtful and respectful, dialogue without shame, uh, because we don't have the tools uh, or the container to hold, this tragedy or our grief, or even know how to talk about it for real. Um, I definitely want to. I want to focus on community strength and healing. Um, I would say I'd like to, highlight like resilience and love, within our community. But to be honest, it has actually shattered our community. So maybe that's a high hope or an intention or a charge, for myself and my fellow community members. And I definitely want to center her work in domestic violence, but also her art and her poetry and her life, and her being a mother. All of that is really important. And so I haven't said her name yet because I wanted to give folks an opportunity, like I said, uh, with this, if you're not able to talk about this in this moment, feel free to come back at another time. So my and our sister, our comrade, our fellow artist, our fellow poet, and activist, um her name is Kelly Mays. She was known belovedly from us as Native Child. That's her poetry name. um I think what I want to do though first, I'm gonna play some different poems of hers, and then I'll talk, in between. But I think what I want to do is just go ahead and play one of her. I want to play this poem. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen here.
Hello, everyone. My name is.
Oh, this one is not. I don't hear it in the. I don't hear it inside. So what I'll do, I'll play a different one. I had wanted to play y'all that one. I might have to play it tomorrow. Well, we'll play this one. We'll start her off with this one here.
A brown girl auditions for the part of Dorothy in her high school's adaptation of The Wizard of Oz. The director tells her she's not quite the right fit and offers her the part of the flying monkey. Open letter to the director of my daughter's high school play. Or, if a brown girl cries and no one is around to hear it, does it break her mother's heart? I know it may seem hard to believe that brown girls are messengers from God, because you were taught that all angels are white and fly high above, but some angels live in hood heavens, where concrete be yellow brick road. Emerald City be Big Mama's kitchen, where hair care and home-cooked meals happen every day, but ain't that what magic is? Scarecrow be street poet, rocking hip-hop beats and mixtape revolutions every time his feet hit the block. Tin Man be that street mechanic that never finished high school, but can rebuild your engine and your computer all from the trunk of his car. Cowardly Lion be that uncle that no one ever talks to, but everyone calls when shit pop off. But ain't that what magic is? Who better to play Dorothy than a brown girl? But you prefer brown girl. Be silent like Flying Monkey. Be subservient like Flying Monkey. Be accessory like Flying Monkey. But brown girl, be more. Be resilient Be resourceful when they rock natural hair. Be resourceful when they rock a fucking weave. You see, brown girl get shit done, even when brown girl be told no. Brown girl makes brown skin wearable, not weapon. A wildflower amongst weeds, and ain't that the shit that hashtags are made of? Ain't that magic? The brown girl cries, and no one is around to hear it. It still breaks her mother's heart. But ain't that the shit that fairy tales are made of? Ain't that magic?
So that was Kelly Mays, Native Child. That piece was called Oz, and that was for a button poetry series. So now that I've been into it a minute, I'm gonna talk about what happened. So Kelly was a poet, a beautiful mother, a kind friend, a daughter, and a counselor for domestic violence and sexual assault survivors. And she did a lot of work around the city in our arts and culture community, um, as well as our mental health community. And I want to be careful because, like I said, it's an open case. So, although it's in the media, so maybe I could just repeat what is has been written already publicly. Um, and I'm trying to think of how to say it because we're on YouTube and I want to say it just straight out, but I know it's important to be careful as well. So I'll say allegedly, or he's accused of. So her husband was a rapper in Detroit in Highland Park who is accused of stabbing her 17 times. And I will say that, the part of the reason that is difficult for our community to deal with this and talk about this is definitely misogyny, and it definitely, misogynoir and all the things. I think secondarily though, what's also difficult for our community is that because we know both people, because both people were part of the community, it was a shocker. And people, this her husband was well known in the hip hop community, and so it's been very difficult all the way around because it's kind of caused this sort of split where a lot of the hip hop people have been kind of acknowledging his legacy, and the poetry. I don't know. It's a thing. But I want to again just talk about her legacy and how amazing she is and was. I know we used to do a domestic violence event with my organization, the foundation, and she was our like internal counselor. And I remember the first time we did it, me and Mahogany talked about it. We didn't know anything about how to do these events properly. And the way we did the event, it was during Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October, and we like had different speakers and people, different performers. We had poets and rappers and dancers and whole type of thing. And then we had some of the folks who teach like self-defense, do some demos, and people got a chance to do that. And then we had like music and food, and we had this. So we were trying to like make it fun so it wasn't like so, heavy. And we decided to have this piñata, but it's huge purple piñata because the colors are like lavender. So we had this gigantic piñata. I mean, it was huge. Like, I mean, it was bigger than like four of us put together. And we hung it and we had all this candy and stuff in it. And we blindfolded different people and they got a chance to like beat the piñata. And we thought that would be like so fun because we were like, oh, beat back the abuser or whatever. And she was so kind and she pulled me to the side and was like, sweetie, this is really triggering. And if someone is suffering, you're going to trigger people. And she's the one who basically showed me like, you got to have a separate room. So she set it all up with candles and soft music and aromatherapy. And then she stayed in there and she talked. And, she was there for people is what I mean. If they were triggered. And like a couple of people did get triggered and they went in there and they talked to her. And that's how we did the event. Moving forward, that's how I got to learn like a bit more. And then later, that was like probably a decade over, like that was probably like 2013. Yeah. But I had been a part of, going like, so in my space, I had different poetry events and she was like a regular at the poetry events and we would have slams. We would have different poetry slams and, in addition to all the other events. And, we just became comrades and sisters in that way. And I won't say fast forward, but I'll say around 2018, something like that. She called me again and was like, I'm doing this, women, I want to do like a connection with with the women in hip hop community. So I want to do a women in poetry meets women in hip hop. So she has, I don't even know. I think it's a series that she had. And it was like for women of color poetry series that she did. And so she asked me to, produce it and host it with her. So it would be like women in poetry and women in hip hop. And we did the series in 2018. I can't remember how many we did. It was a couple. I'm trying to think. It was a couple months. But that's how I got a chance to really, just get closer, in at least in the creative space, I think what I want to do, I want to play another piece of hers. Again, I'm going to put this up again in case people are joining me because this piece is pretty heavy. And I'll say it again. So this disclaimer, is talking about suicide. And so I just want to put that up. So this is one of her signature poems. And there were different ones that I could have chosen, but I chose this one. So,
Trigger warning. This poem was meant to be funny. I tried to think funny. Be funny. Channel my inner comedian, write funny across a page, funny. Like that time I broke my arm running from a squirrel. True story. Funny, I thought it was chasing me. Funny, it really wasn't funny. I still believe the squirrel apocalypse is a thing. Funny. Like that time a boy called me fat. When I told him I thought he was cute. I kept the joke going, kept his homeboys laughing, kept my waistline expanding inside the punchline, hoping they wouldn't notice it really wasn't funny. At that time, I lost my wallet. I found myself at the grocery store, carts full of baby formula. Funny, the nice lady paid. Funny, I really didn't lose my wallet. Funny, I didn't have enough money to fill my car and my child's belly. Funny how life is. Keep writing, you will get to funny. Keep laughing. Laughter is the only thing that will make this poem funny. At that time, I wrote my first haiku along the wall of my college dorm. Funny, it was actually a suicide note. Funny, no one noticed. They say the ones that laugh the most, laugh the least. Robin Williams, Anthony Bourdain, my cousin, me. They say laughter is the best medicine. If I keep writing, maybe I'll be cured. If I keep laughing, maybe I'll be cured after all. You say to God, halfway through a poem, or a prayer, or a suicide note, or a punchline. Funny?
So a lot of her work, I'll say Ashe, and a lot of her work, or all the work that I found, is centered around um her struggles. And I want to say this. I am going to say I ignorantly thought that her doing those poems meant that these were issues that had been overcome, not issues that uh she was currently battling. And so I would just want to honor my own ignorance in that. Because again, while I'm seeing all the work, and I just didn't realize that the work was very present. The work was a representation of the present, not um not what not what had been overcome. So um yeah. I also want to acknowledge that, in our community, we don't talk about this stuff enough. Uh, well, I didn't ask my comrade to mention their name, but a beloved comrade, was like, hey, we got to talk to the men and ask the men to like step up and lead, a lot of these conversations, because, it's always the women that are, leading in these conversations. And I'll say that in the last week, I have spoken to a lot of our men in our hip hop community, and overwhelmingly, what I've been told is that, and not just the men, but just a lot of hip hop people, that they don't want to talk about it because, um, number one, they don't know how to talk about it, and people are, like I said, still stunned, and people are overwhelmed, and so that's a thing um that we need to work on. That's the thing that my comrade has charged me with, to charge the men in my community. So I'm going to take up that charge, or I have taken up that charge, and I have spoken with some of the men in our hip hop community. I'll say like the men who are like respected, by others in our community, to, go get your people, you know what I mean? And have a talk with one another. I spoke with a brother of ours, brother in the community sense, who is also a hip hop artist, and knew and loved both of them as well. And we were because like I said, all week all of us have been calling each other and trying to make some sense of it, which is there. It doesn't make sense. There's no making sense of something that just doesn't make any sense. And one of the fellas, he told me that number one, he was saying how these dudes not gonna understand or this or that, and that's true. The dude, maybe they won't understand, but I was saying to him that if they see you, like it kind of turns it into a gendered, although it is a gendered problem. Femicide is a gendered problem. Killing Black women is a gendered problem. And it's a community health hazard. It's a community problem. And I, was speaking with my brother, and I'm like, it's one thing, like, I'm respected in a community. I'm not about to be like, I'm not respected in the community. I'm very respected in our community. And it's one thing if I talk about these things, which is the reason I'm talking about it. And my comrade's right. It's something different when the fellas step out there and speak about it, and speak about it with some vulnerability. And he was like, well, what would I say? I don't even know what to say. And I said, say that. Go on the internet and say, I'm confused. I don't know what to say. And our conversation was like, I'm like, men don't have the space to be vulnerable, especially Black men. It's like men have to be, this hyper masculine, like strong, like know it all, like whatever. I'm not saying these are my beliefs. I'm saying that especially in the hip hop community, there's this thing where it's this extra bravado type of thing. And I said to my comrade, like, what would it look like if you just went on the internet and you were like, I'm hurt, I'm sad, I'm confused, I don't know what to say. And if you led, like, speaking out. So I really hope he does it. I do appreciate that he said he was afraid to do it because of the retaliation that he'll get from his comrades. But I've spoken to maybe 3 or 4 different men. No, maybe like 5. About 5 different men I've spoken to in hip hop. And they've all kind of said that same thing. That they don't want to be the one to like step out there and be out front. So I've also spoken to a sister comrade of mine who does this work. I want to acknowledge Kalima Johnson. Her organization is called Sasha Center. Kalima is also a poet. She was the first MC from Detroit, hip hop MC from Detroit, to have her record on the radio. She was the original Nikki D, but she later got sent a cease and desist letter from the other Nikki D. So she had to change her name to Ebony and her business. But she's very busy. She, in her organization, Sasha Center, it focuses on supporting Black women identified sexual assault survivors. And she does it in a decolonized way that she deals with African spirituality, and she does it where it centers, art and beauty and laughter and resilience and strength. And she's been doing this for a long time. Maybe like almost 20 years, I think. And over the last decade, she's gotten contracts and worked with like what is it? The Major Baseball League, the MLB, and then the NBA and the NFL. And so she has a whole program. She's been working with men, mostly around sexual assault, but also with domestic violence. And so because that's big in the athlete world as well. And so we've been talking about what type of support, because she's done a lot of men's groups, men centered groups, men with men, trying to process this. And also she's done it in the poetry community with another comrade. And so I've spoken with her and another comrade of ours. And so hopefully we'll be doing some things through Community Movement Builders, the Detroit chapter, um, so that men can support men in this way. But again, I don't want to just like center men. I just wanted to mention that I definitely want to center my comrade here. And I want to say her name again: Kelly Mays, Native child, mother, daughter, comrade, friend, activist, poet, counselor. Just want to send her all the love that her daughter, if you look at the report, her daughter found her. And her daughter said that she touched her foot and it was cold. And that when she closes her eyes, that's all she sees, so she can't sleep. And if you go into the description of this video, there's her daughter Celeste Mays. There's her Cash App, her Venmo. There's a meal train. There's all the ways in which you can support her daughters and her family. So I want to ask that people support her daughters and her family. And please be patient with me as I'm fumbling around. I had organized my notes, but I'm just going through my through some of my notes here. I definitely there's so many notes that I took. I also wanted to debunk a couple of myths. I wanted to debunk like two or at least a couple of these myths. So there's so much connected to all of this, so much that we're learning in the moment about this case, about our community, about it's caused me to do a lot of reflection. It's caused our community to do a lot of reflection. Like most of the people I talk to are doing a lot of reflection around this. I've written notes like everywhere, but I kind of wrote a little something. So Kelly Mays was a silent advocate. And what I mean by that is I didn't know that when she was doing her poetry, she was also speaking for her current situation, not just situations that she had overcome. But with that, Kelly was a Detroit native. She was known for her fiery spirit and unwavering dedication to mental health advocacy and domestic violence support. So her vibrant legacy remains a resounding whisper against the shadows of stigma and suffering. She was a beacon that was extinguished. So Kelly, or Native Child, as we called her, she wasn't just a champion, she was a warrior. She battled the invisible cause of mental illness with words woven into spells of strength and hope. For those trapped in the cages of domestic violence, she was a battering ram against the iron bars of fear and silence. The details surrounding her murder cast a chilling fog. And as the legal wheels turn, whispers of truth begin to emerge, and each detail adding another layer of grief to the tapestry of loss. She was a celebration of light. And, grief can't be the whole story. I just want to acknowledge that that's where we are right now. But I want to recall the symphony of Kelly's life, the infectious laughter that danced through every conversation, the adventurous spirit that embraced life with open arms, her words, vibrant and alive, still echoing the hearts she touched, urging us to shatter the shackles of stigma and silence. So Kelly's absence leaves a gaping hole, but her legacy refuses to be buried. It lives on in the echoes of her voice, in the tears of gratitude she inspired, and in the lives she illuminated. This warrior poet may be ascended, but the embers of her fight refuse to die. So as we remember her, let us carry the torch she ignited, ensuring her voice continues to resound, dismantling darkness and igniting hope in the hearts of those still battling in the shadows. So just wanted to center her for a minute. And not just a minute, for a while. So again, I was saying that there's so much that I could say, but if you look up, the case, you could see, like, where what all is going on, right now. But I wrote some additional notes here that I wanted to talk about in terms of what some of the words are, on the street. And so the reason I want to talk about that is because that's the part where I think we struggle as a community to have the tools to properly even understand or even navigate, right? I've seen everything online, and it's difficult because some of the stuff I don't even want to repeat here, but I think it's necessary in order to debunk it, right? So I had seen online where some people were saying things around what did she do? And that's pretty typical, right? Like, what happened, blah, 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 blah. But I think when we talk about domestic violence or any violence or violence against women, violence against Black women, I think one major thing that we have to do that's really imperative, we're going to have to understand that isn't a part of the conversation. There is no provocation. There is no reason. There's no reason why someone commits violence against women. What I mean by that is there's no such thing as provocation, right? Like, that is a myth, it's a lie, and we have to like remove that even from the conversation when we're even talking about this, right? And it sounds like, why do we have to say these things? But we have to say these things because we make assumptions that in our community we're all on the same page because we're activists or artists, or it's 2024 or whatever. But if you see the conversation online, like some of us have, we have to say these things. There is no such thing as provocation. There is no reasoning. There's no justification. That doesn't exist. There, no one can cause someone to put their hands on them, to harm them. There is no cause. So definitely wanted to make sure that I said that in this broadcast. Another thing I wanted to dig deeper into is a lot of our community is feeling a lot of guilt. Like, what could I have done? What should I have done? You know, what signs didn't I see? You know, where did I go wrong? You know, I think part of it is that none of us saw this, and possibly all of us saw it, if that makes sense. Like, we didn't see the signs. We didn't understand the signs. We didn't pick up on the signs. We didn't. Part of it is we did fail both of them, but we failed her as a community and at the same time, it's not good to like stay in that space around blame, but it is good to stay in that space to try to understand what do we need to do moving forward so that we can not only recognize signs, but we can teach each other to recognize signs and teach each other to be advocates and allies and co-liberators and fierce warriors for one another, so that we can learn how to, like, what signs we need to look for so that we can be there. We've lost our comrade, and this is an epidemic. Black women are dying at the hands of their domestic or intimate partners at epidemic proportions. It's a health crisis. It's a health crisis. It's a community health crisis. And we have to figure out a way to learn how to support each other through this. You know, that's number one. We'll all have to get more training, right? Because we don't have the tools. We don't have the tools. And we got to get the tools. I'll just say that we got to get some tools. I think another part of it is when we talk about like healing and mental health and all this kind of thing. I think it's not just like tea, although tea is nice, but it's not just tea and this kind of self-care thing, massages and things like that. Like, some of us have experienced and are experiencing very deep levels of trauma. And it's imperative that we all be able to have trauma informed training. It is imperative. I mean, not just if you're working with kids, not just if you're, going to be an activist, but for our lives in general, it's important. We have to learn communication skills, conflict resolution skills. Um, there's so many skills that we have to beef ourselves up on, and it can be, I had in this time, like I told y'all, I've had lots of conversations with different men that are in the hip hop community. Different women have reached out to me as well in my DMs or in my text. Over time, because I have a women in hip hop organization that centers women in hip hop, over the years, lots of women have reached out to me in DMs to talk to me, to tell me horrific things that they have experienced and have gone through. And I have, referred them to Kalima, Sasha Center, and other, you know, practitioners that I know that can support them. And, something that we need to talk about more that we don't talk about enough. There are a lot of people who are suffering in silence because they are embarrassed. Through this time, I had maybe 3 women um, reach out to me that I know that are in our community, that are in our arts and culture community, that are with pe- dudes that we all know. And they asked me to not share their names, and I won't. But they revealed to me that they too, that this incident has been very triggering to them because they talked to Native recently and uh felt a little bit guilty because they felt like maybe they should have said something, but they are also in a challenging relationship with either their ex or their child's father or something like that. And they revealed to me that, they've felt so much shame that they just have been suffering in silence, but they've been feeling bullied, they've been feeling frightened, they've been feeling alone, and that this incident prompted them to reach out to me to tell me, and that they need a support network. Well, I said, "Man, we need a support network." And they're like, "Yeah, we need a support network." I mean, we do have these organizations, like, think of the epidemic proportions that this is happening. Detroit's a black city, so you can't even imagine the numbers. And like Sasha Center and Kalima's like one person, There are other options, but the other options are not culturally um relevant per se or culturally informed, but there are other options, for people. And there are becoming more options. I'm going to have a a sister on my show tomorrow. We're going to do another dedication to Native on my podcast tomorrow. We'll talk about some of the things. She just got a big grant to work with sexual assault survivors. I do want to acknowledge sexual assault is different from domestic partner violence, although many times in domestic partner violence, there is sexual assault. But in their field, they tell me that they prefer for us to, not conflate the two. But many times, um, the people that are suffering at the hands of their intimate partner are also being sexually assaulted by their partner. Um, I'm just trying to make sure to make some of the points so that as you're having these also I think it's important to talk about like bias, because there is gender bias, and to be honest, we all carry some levels of racial bias, right? We're working to decolonize our minds and decolonize ourselves, there are racial biases that exist, gender biases that exist, class bias that exists, with this issue. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that, because like with Kiki Palmer, people didn't take, you know, and she's a huge celebrity. Not that that means anything, huge celebrity, whatever. But let's just say it's a person that has um access to, you know, or whatever that means. But everyone was saying that Kiki Palmer, was silly or whatever, or they didn't take her seriously, you know. And she had cameras and stuff. Um and you know, this podcast is centered on women in hip hop. So I'm going to talk about hip hop a little bit. It's not to like take away from all the systemic aspects of this problem, because believe you me, um it is the systems of oppression, and we're all part of this thing, this experiment. And well, not all, but many of us are a part of this experiment or grew up in this experiment or this project. And so many people have been indoctrinated, and I'll say through our media, through our music, through our entertainment, about the normalization of violence against Black women and Black girls and Black femmes. It's a joke and it's funny. I did a show about Cat Williams on my podcast about his misogyny and how I don't think it's funny, because that type of normalization is what allows for us culturally to accept violence against Black women and Black girls and Black femmes. In the past, we would fight amongst ourselves on the left and debate about, not wanting to have that particular conversation, because it's like, well, we've got to keep our foot on the neck of the oppressor. And I think we do. I don't think it's a binary. Like, I don't think it's a binary, like keeping your foot on oppressor and decolonizing yourself or like ourselves. And for me, a part of that decolonization includes my media diet. It includes my hip hop diet. I know I'm gonna get flack about lyrics and, you know, but there's a lot of lyrics in music in general, but I'm talking about our culture and our people in this moment. There's a lot of lyrics that I would say help perpetuate this culture and reveal um a lot about this culture, but I would say there's a lot of perpetuation or propensities to continue. I mean, look at the conversation, even with, I mean, and it's not just hip hop, right? It's not relegated to hip hop. Like, historically, right? Historically, it's just been accepted, violence against Black women, right? And girls. That has historically just been It's so nonchalant, it's so normalized that even speaking about it causes controversy. And in 2024, I want us to talk about that a lot more. I also want to say that, unfortunately, while the circumstances surrounding this situation are unique to me in my witnessing of life experiences, I have never um I've had friends that have been murdered and it hurt so much. And this one hurts extra so much, especially the way that she passed away. It's horrifying. When I first found out, I was in disbelief. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it 1,000. When I first heard it, I was like, I didn't believe it. I thought that, they were trying to uh make something up. And then when it was confirmed through my friends that it was true and I had to accept it, it was horrifying. And I experienced, like I said, anger, frustration, confusion, because I didn't want to believe that I knew a person or know a person all this time that I was calling a friend, that we were calling a friend, that was in our community, that was doing work with the youth and protecting Black women and, doing all this music and doing all this community work, and would do something so heinous as stab his wife to death 17 times. I was shocked and I was embarrassed, and I wanted to run and put my head in the sand because I just didn't know what to do. And the fact that he did it to his wife, who we all said, oh, he loved her so much. And then I had to start thinking like, oh my God, her children, he's got a son, thinking, he ripped her from her kids, from her mother, from us. And even now I wrote so much to say, and I just feel compelled to like speak a little bit from the heart. I have my notes, but I want to speak a little bit from the heart because I just want to be honest, because my community is not talking about this at all, because people are feeling the same feelings that I was feeling, and people are feeling ashamed to say that we didn't know that she was being abused. People are ashamed to say that they know her abuser and he was our friend. People are ashamed to say the truth. And I felt ashamed. And I had to muster up the courage and the strength, because I was like, I have a platform and it's really important that I say something. Nobody's saying anything. Why is nobody saying anything? Her life mattered. She mattered. Kelly Mays mattered. Native child mattered. She's somebody that we love. She was somebody that made a difference. She was somebody that dedicated her life to making a difference. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm ashamed that I didn't know that she was currently being abused. I'm ashamed that I thought her poetry was about her suffering that she overcame. And I'm acknowledging that shame, but I can't run from the truth. And I can't just go and be like, I don't want to talk about that. A lot of my friends are like, I don't want to talk about it because it's too painful, it's too shameful. Because it's a feeling of guilt. Like, why didn't I do something? Why didn't I see something? Why didn't I know? But those aren't really, that's more of a self-centered, I won't say it's self-centered, but it's just a certain part of the grief that we got to move through, because that's such a self-centering thing. We have to say her name. We have to say Kelly Mays. We have to say Native child. We have to say it, and we have to speak up, and we have to say that we didn't know what to do. And part of us feels like we failed her. And we did fail her as a community. And we gotta accept that we did fail her. And we also have to acknowledge that we just didn't see. And we didn't see the signs because she also hid them from us. She also hid those signs from us. And that's why we have to get training. Because maybe some of us did not see the signs because we're so used to trauma. Because we're so close to our trauma that we can't even see. That we can't even recognize trauma. Because some of us are so close. Because some of us are so close to trauma. Oh, that we don't even recognize trauma. Oh. And in addition to that, we have to help her kids. Because her daughter found her. Her daughter found her. And her daughter said she touched her foot and it was cold. Her daughter said she touched her foot and it was cold. Oh. Her daughter said she found her. And she was stabbed 17 times and her daughter found her. And she said her foot was cold and that she can't sleep. Because every time she closes her eyes, that's what she sees. So as a community, we can't fail her. We gotta surround her. We have to support her. As a community, we have to. Now, my comrade that I told you about, that I don't have permission to name her name, that does journalism, I told her, I said, I don't know if I should go because his arraignment is on the 25th. I said, I don't know if I should go. I mean, I guess I'm not gonna lie, like, I'm gonna be honest, like, he was our friend too. I was very close to him, like a brother. I didn't, none of us expected that he would do something like this. Like, no one, no one. I mean, and I mean, we, 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 we missed those signs. We missed those signs as well, or maybe misunderstood. And like I said, because our trauma, at least I'll speak for myself, the trauma is so present. And you think you're doing all this healing, but don't even recognize. But he was beloved in the hip hop community. I can't say he wasn't. I'm not trying to center him or center that. It's confusing to the community because he was a beloved person in the community and he was our brother. But what am I supposed to do? I can't in good conscience lift up his rap career and his successes and center him anymore. I got to rally around her legacy and her kids. And maybe that's part of the guilt too, is like realizing that he was our friend and that we did not see those signs or we didn't understand the signs. And also too, I mean, I'll be honest, and maybe it's true for other people too. I know since pandemic, my mother passed away in 2021. I had been dealing with my own grief. I had been in my house, not like going outside. So I hadn't really been in the community since pandemic, to be honest. I'm just coming outside, if you will. Um, and so there, as I have been um going on the internet to try to make some sense of this, which why am I trying to make sense of this? It's senseless. It doesn't make sense, but my brain is trying to make sense and see like where did I go wrong. And as I've been doing that, I've been going on her social media and his social media. And in hindsight, all the signs were there. All the signs were there. I just didn't understand that those were the signs. I just didn't understand those were the signs. As an aside, I do want to say that another part of this conversation that's very difficult is that a couple of years ago, he did suffer a traumatic car accident that left him with a brain injury. And so what folks were saying is maybe that has something to do with it. I'm not a neuroscientist. I don't know. But I can tell you that I do know I did notice a difference, but I didn't know that that was the difference. And yeah, I didn't know. And I've had conversations with, like I said, a lot of men in the hip hop community, his friends, my friends, and that, not to like blame or whatever, we've all been asking ourselves. And the guys were like, I don't know how to intervene. It's not in this specific situation, but we were talking about like domestic violence and we're learning that, and it's in the papers and things. So I'm not revealing new information, but we're learning that it was current abuse that was happening. I had no idea as his friend that he was doing that. I had no idea. And I believe my male friends who say they didn't know either. Um so this means that he was doing this in secret and she was suffering in silence. and that the whole thing was hidden. Yet and still, there are still signs that are on the internet. And so, looking at his music, and I, don't want to be like the cops or whatever, but as an artist, I can tell you that people's art is a part of who they are, and they do put their reality into their art. And so looking at the artwork that he was putting out there, it was dark. I'll just say that. And anyway, I'm going down a lane I probably shouldn't, because his arraignment's on the 25th. But again, it's not to center him. I want to center her. And it's not even about like my suffering, it's just I can't help it this moment. I'm just so distraught about it. And many of my comrades like don't know how to talk to one another, don't know how to talk about it. I mean, it's the most devastating thing that we've experienced as a community. And we've experienced a lot of devastation, trust me, in Detroit over the last 20 years. But I had a whole script of other stuff that I wanted to talk about, but I think I made like most of my points in a very heartfelt way. I do want to play another I'm going to have another show for her tomorrow with my friend Lisa, who is a healer. And like I said, she got a grant to do work with survivors of sexual assault. But in that, she's doing a lot of healing work on people, that have survived. And like I said, a lot of times with the sexual assault, or many times, even though I don't want to conflate them with respect to the field, but a lot of times people who have suffered sexual assault is because of intimate partner or domestic partner violence. Sometimes they meet. So she's going to be doing healing, but she's also going to talk about her healing modalities. I'm going to end soon, but I want to play another piece of hers. I was trying to play this other piece, which I'll probably have to play tomorrow and figure out how to do it because time is running out. But somehow I can't hear it on YouTube. I can't hear it for y'all on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this piece, and this will be the last piece I play. And then I do want to end on a note of like, of like, what do we do? And I do appreciate all of y'all for sharing. So I see there's some, yeah. I'm gonna play this piece here, because this piece, I'm gonna end with this. I'm gonna end showing videos of her performances with this piece, but I'm gonna do a closing after this piece. This is Kelly Mays, Native Child, and this piece is called Precipice.
The first words my daughter ever learned was, "Daddy, no." At 13 months, she watched as I fell into the precipice of a Greek tragedy. I, Persephone, her father, Hades. By the time she was 5, she had learned to scream no louder than a whisper and repeat the clever lies I taught her to believe, that black girls and black eyes were synonyms. She had learned to tuck her tears into places her father could not find, what scars
and with scarves accessorized best the morning after Armageddon. Safety plans became like fire drills. That's why she would hide in the back of her first grade classroom every time she would have one. Better to burn than face the devil. When she was 7, I overheard her praying, telling God that she hoped she'd never grow up to be like me, that she wasn't sure if her father would kill me or my depression. Either way, she knew what dress I would wear and how to comb my hair when they buried me. I left her father that same year and cut that tree down we used to hide under every time that monster would come out from under her bed. Next year will mark that 10th year since I left her father. And her sister who's only 5, can't understand why we go back to that same tree stump every year to count the rings. But you see, I know my baby is still afraid of fire drills. And I have yet to throw away my scarves. It is said that 1 in 3 women will experience violence in their lifetime. I have 2 daughters, both who have inherited my eyes.
That was Kelly Mays, Native Child. That piece was called Precipice. There's a series of called Button Poetry. They provide a platform to poets. She had 7 poems on there. And so shouts out to her for getting 7 of her poems shown on there. This show has been pretty heavy. I appreciate y'all for sticking with us to honor my friend, our comrade, our sister's life, Kelly Mays, Native Child. I want to appreciate all her work. She's a writer. She was a writer. She had just posted on her Facebook page how happy she was about all these different opportunities that, she had coming up. And she had, was a recipient of various awards. She was a slam poet. So I don't know if y'all know about slam poetry, but it's kind of like battle rap where it's a little different, but they have like the different rounds, and let's just say she was a winner, a consistent winner, and on her writing, on her performance. Again, I want y'all to go to the description of this video. You can support her children. There's a meal train there. There's I think there's a Cash App, there's a Venmo, there's the different ways that you can give some financial support to her family. Like I said, my comrade that does journalism asked me, well, I told her I'm not sure if I should go to the arraignment. I said I was thinking to go, and she said that I should go and maybe do live tweeting. I don't know if they'll let me keep my phone. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll find a way to like share it on Black Power Media. And she was saying, I told her I've never been to an arraignment. I've never done that. But she was saying that I should go and do some live tweeting. And I'm going to get some advice from her about how to do it, because I do think that it's important. Maybe I can get access to the Black Power Media tweet to tweet it from there so it gets the proper reach. But she was saying it's important to just get the what happened and the facts and get the record and share with the community so you have it. And so I'm gonna work with her to help me get the courage to do it. But then also, she's right. It does need to be done because the media is telling a story in a way, and it's important that we tell our own stories, even if there are tragedies. But it's important we tell our own stories. And um, anyway, this wasn't like necessarily as tributey as I would have liked. I hope I did a decent job on her legacy. Um, like I said, it's all still fresh. It just happened last week, Sunday, and the community has been in shock and just torn apart this whole week. So everyone's been kind of dealing with it, but I just felt it was necessary to do some kind of tribute. She's gonna have services and a funeral. There's gonna her niece and her niece is one of my I call her one of my babies, a young poet that used to come to the space and at my space. And she's devastated. So we work together now. And she told me that her aunt asked her to organize a poetry event next month. So she's going to organize a poetry event in her honor. Also, too, um, I know her coworkers are devastated, and I know that the poetry community, I did get a flyer from the poetry community that they're going to do something on the 31st. So I believe I'll strive to support that. And maybe I'll see if we could like broadcast that or share from that. I'll figure that part out. But I want to thank all Black Power Media comrades and listeners, all my comrades in Detroit, Tanda Ziswe, Chimaranga. I want to thank Tawana Petty. I think, Sugar Booger was here, Jamila, Aisha, Black Lives Matter DC was in effect. We're gonna get free, Helpful Harm, JM. I want to thank everyone who did contribute to the chat. Again, share this episode. If you don't want to share the episode, share the links to support her daughters. Because her daughters are going to need not only this support, but continued support. And so I know I'll continue to share the links here over time, and continue to lift up her legacy. So just want to send lots of love to the Detroit community that's suffering right now, the poetry community, the hip hop community, our community in general, all her family, her children and his son, these are kids. So I want to say rest easy. And yeah, I think I'll end there. I appreciate all y'all. This is Beyond Breaking Barriers. I'm here every Monday, 8:00, talking about women in hip hop. And check the, like, share, subscribe, and click the bell for the notifications. I've put up the episodes for the rest of January, for the rest of this year. And so check out, what all the episodes are. And I do have a show tomorrow, my show over on Detroit is Different, the Piper Carter podcast. So I'm going to do a tribute over there as well. All right. So peace, everyone.